my course has been about thinking, about ideas, about new ideas, about new ways of doing things, etc., etc. Now this is difficult to test in an exam. You can't test an idea in an exam. So I would say a lot of my course has been about ideas, but some of my course was about like the scheduling, the forecasting thing were okay for an exam. So what we're going to do is we're going to have assessment in two parts. Okay? One part will be for the ideas, and one part will be for the techniques. Yeah? So for the ideas, this is maybe not the final version, but it would be like this, right? President Sisi decided the sanctions of Egypt to fully engage in lean techniques. I think we said that, by the way. Accordingly, apparently, so this is yours. These, I want you to work in groups. So groups of 5 or 6. Karim will have to decide on who's in a group, right? So you work in a group of people, and you prepare one report for the group. So you have to work together, you have to work as a team, you have to communicate, you have to talk to each other. All these ideas I've been talking about, you have to think together. So I want you to prepare a word report which looks at your organisation, the one you're working for, its culture, how it's organised, and suggest how can it become a learning organisation. So how can it introduce personal mastery, how can it introduce shared vision, how can it introduce teamwork, how can it do it with mental models, right? All I've just been talking about, and which includes, this is a learning organisation as well. So basically I want you to work in a group of 5 or 6, on your company that you understand, and really look at your company and say, well, how's it organised now, and how can we change it to be a learning organisation? So that is the test, that is the assessment of the ideas. That's the assessment of the ideas. And to do it, you've got to work as a team, and you've got to talk to each other, which is what I've been asking you to do. Okay? So that's the idea part. For the assessment part, these are some of the questions we haven't done the questions yet, but you will get questions possibly on remember network analysis, critical path analysis, and PERT. Remember those things? You write those down. So you must find. You've got my notes as well, but also if you find any book on management science or operational management, these are in those books, right? So you'll be asked a question, you'll be given some data and asked to do a critical path analysis or something, okay? Like we did in the lecture. Also, in the forecasting, you should be able to do moving average, rate moving average, exponential smoothing, regression, and trends. We talked about this on Saturday, right? So they're the you could get questions on any of those things. Again, it would say, here's some data, what is a trend, or here's some data to do an forecast, here's some data for 11 months, forecast the 12th month, the next month, like we did in the lecture, right? And you could use some of these techniques. And then the final thing is, I want you to understand, I will maybe give you a simple diagram like that, and I will ask you to relate that to your company. might not be that exact diagram, but it'll be a simple diagram. I'm not saying, so this is a diagram in general. If you've got an action, if you've got a current state of your company, and this is what you want your company to be like, there's a gap. So the gap makes you do something which helps you to reduce the gap. Yeah? But there could be a side effect which stops you. So maybe I might give you a diagram on that and say, please give me 2 examples in your company of that situation. So I'm not asking you to build, I'm not asking you to make a diagram. I will give you a diagram and I'm asking you to relate that diagram to your company. Yeah?
Justification about the...
Yeah. Give me an example from your company for that diagram. Right? So you might say, you might decide that the drug company, this could be, we're selling 100,000 drugs. We want to sell 120,000, so there's a gap of 20,000. Yeah? That's the gap. How do we reduce the gap? What action do we take to sell another 20,000? Yeah? And so we say the action is to employ more people. I don't know, some action. So you employ more people, you make more drugs, therefore your gap goes down. But if you employ more people, it's going to cost you more money, and the more money stops you doing it. You know, understand what I mean? So you just take an example from your company. So all you're being tested on is, do you understand that graph, that diagram? And so that would be the exam. There'd be one of these diagrams, and there'll be some questions on, some forecasting questions, and there'll be some scheduling questions. Yeah? So the working exam, we have to decide. We haven't even made the exam yet, so we'll decide the working in a minute. So the only thing to do is before, well, it's not my Kareem, we have to, or Mohammed, we have, not now, but sometime we have to organise it into groups. So I think there's only one problem. There's in Mansoura, I think there's 18, could be 3 groups of 6, that's fine. In Upper Egypt, there's 3 groups, but there's a problem. There's only one person in a suit.
Yes.
You and 2 persons in somewhere, right? So you 3 are the problem. So if you 3 can combine somehow by Skype or email, yeah, that's okay. That'd be one group. So that's the one group. 3 groups in Upper Egypt, 3 groups in Lower Egypt. And that's it. I'm not marking it, Terry would be marking it. So my job is done, so thank you very much for being here. It's been very difficult for you because it's in a foreign language, and it's very hard, I know it's very hard to listen for hours and hours and hours in a different language. It's very difficult, you have to concentrate. You've been a very, very good group. I've enjoyed teaching you, and I wish you a lot of success in your companies.